Okay, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. I'll go to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. I have no qualification to speak on this subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam. And whatever I could speak is by the mercy of Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada and other senior Vaishnavas who spoke earlier on this subject matter. Whatever I could understand from their speaking. And especially all this speaking is for my purification and to get good or better in my sadhana and try to be pleasing to the other Vaishnavas. Okay, that like we'll start the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Rindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Bhakti Bhavati Naistakim Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 4, titled Vidura Approaches Maitreya, Text 1. We are starting new chapter today, and I'll recite the verse. Uddhava vacha atate tad anugnata bhuktva pitva cha varuni tata vibhrasita jnana tata vibhramsita jnana duraktairmama pasuprusaha. One more time. Uddhava vacha atate tadanugnata bhuktva pitva cha varuni tata vibhramsita jnana duraktairmama pasprusaha. Synonyms. Uddhava vacha. Uddhava said, Atha, thereafter, they, the Yadavas, tat, by the Brahmanas, anugnataha, being permitted, bhuktva, after partaking, pitva, drinking, cha, and Varunim, liquor, Taya, by that, Vibramsita, Vibramsita Jnana, being bereft of knowledge, Duruktai, with harsh words, Marma, the core of the heart, Pasprusaha, touched. Translation. Thereafter, all of them, the descendants of Rishini and Bhoja, being permitted by the Brahmanas, partook of the remnants of prasada and also drank liquor made of rice. By drinking, they all became delirious and bereft of knowledge. They touched the cores of each other's hearts with harsh words. Purport by His Divine Grace, Abhayacharnan Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In ceremonies, when Brahmanas and Vaishnavas are sumptuously fed, the host partakes of the remnants of foodstuff after the guest has given permission. So the descendants of Rishini and Bhoja formally took permission from the Brahmanas and ate the prepared foodstuff. Kshatriyas are permitted to drink at certain occasions, so they all drank a kind of light liquor made of rice. By such drinking, they became delirious and bereft of sense, so much so that they forgot their relationship with one another and used harsh words which touched the cores of each other's hearts. Drinking is so harmful that even such a highly cultured family becomes affected by intoxication and can forget themselves in drunken state. The descendants of Rishini and Bhoja were not expected to forget themselves in this way, but by the will of the Supreme it happened, and thus they became harsh towards one another. Okay, so okay, just to bring in summary for what happened until now before this chapter. Like in the first chapter, like Vidura got banished from the pilgrimage and while banished from the kingdom, and he went on a pilgrimage. And on the pilgrimage, he meets Uddhava, and he's having conversation with Uddhava, and he asked Uddhava to speak about Lord. And when Vidura asked Uddhava to speak about the Lord, Uddhava went into feelings of bliss, and by remembering the Lord and the time Uddhava spent with Lord, his childhood pastimes and all things, and he got into kind of trance uh, by remembering all those events, and Vidura could see those bodily transformations in Uddhava, and also he can see the tears of separation. But when Uddhava came back into the external consciousness, then he started glorifying the Lord's. First, he starts with the beauty of the Lord, and as Lord is he first compares Lord as the ornament of all the ornaments, and then he says that Lord's beauty is above the dexterity of Brahma, and then Uddhava explains all different pastimes Lord performed in Vrindavan, Dwarka, and killing of different demons, and how he spent time with the gopis in the rasa dance, or, or with the gopas herding the cows, and all the different pastimes. And basically, second and third chapter kind of continued more of the pastimes of the remembering, and finally. End of the last chapter, the last section, where Uddhava explaining the disappearance of the Yadus, how the events leading up to the disappearance of the Yadus, and the sages curse the princess who try to tease them by some act. And with that, with the Krishna's order, some of the Vrishnis or Yadus, they leave to Prabhasha Kshetra, and where in Prabhasha Kshetra, so they were trying to follow the Vedic ceremonies as per the scriptures, like means they took the bath in the Ganges and then they invited all the Brahmanas and then they gave, they offered them delicious prasadam and then offered like so many things as in charity to the as gifts to all the Brahmanas, gold, cows, horses, elephants, land, everything to the satisfaction of the Brahmanas. And coming to this chapter, Uddhava is continuing the conversation about the disappearance of Yadu dynasty. In the first verse, they took the permission of the Brahmanas and then they honored the prasadam and they had like also alcohol and after all things they lost their consciousness and they started speaking to each other with harsh words which touched the core of their hearts. So the one point, that last word, they touched the cores of each other's hearts with harsh words, is a thing which really attracted me because I was listening a lecture recently from Her Grace Niteswami Mataji, and in that Mataji was talking about some of the points, how to be happy. So in that, one of the points was about the speed. So I kind of like this touched me, and I started reflecting on this point. So I just try to speak on that. So, coming to the harsh words, I just want to share one of my experiences which happened. Maybe some of us, or most of us, would have experienced in some point in our lives. This once, I was with in one of my relatives, and they received a phone call, and I think it was for an invitation or something for a program, and they spoke for some time, and after that, so they are ready to disconnect the call, and relative thought the phone got disconnected, and he started speaking about some of the qualities about the other person who is on the call, but the phone was not disconnected. So after 5 minutes, he gets the call back again from the other person and start asking is this what you have about me, the feelings or the thoughts about the person. So, but then relative has to spend more than an hour explaining this, oh, that's not what I meant, and basically trying to cover up or clear the confusion, whatever has happened. I know that at least for me, it happened many times on a slip of a tongue. I say some things to the people. It's not my intention maybe, but it just happens, and then it hurts others' feelings at really at the core of the heart. Like sometimes when it touches something core of the heart, it's very hard to heal. or clear up the things. So we can say sorry or anything at a later time, but yeah, sometimes it might not be a right time, or maybe the time has passed. Okay. So, and same thing like yesterday, also Balaram Prasad Prabhu was talking about working towards improving our Brahmanican qualities, so we can attract Krishna's attention, or like we can basically get the love of the Vaishnavas, and which attracts Krishna. So in the same context, like actually in the Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami talks about the first verse and the first word. It starts with the Vacho Vegam. Mm. So basically, urge to speak in the is the thing, like means who can control urge to speak. There's 6 urges which Rupa Goswami mentions, and urge to speak is one of the things, and that's the first thing to control. And also same thing uh, in Bhagavad Gita 17.15, Krishna speaks about austerity of speech. I just read the translation. Austerity of speech consists of speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. So, so with that context, like from that lecture, Mataji was saying this statement. One of the principles is like hear without defending, speak without offending. So hear without defending. So many times uh, when I'm approach someone, I'm not open-minded. So in my early days of Krishna consciousness, uh, one of the senior devotees, uh, they suggested me something like, means when you're approaching any senior Vaishnavas for any suggestions or any guidance, you should approach them only when you're ready to accept their suggestion or their instructions. When you think like you would not be able to follow, then never pose a question, uh, because it felt like it's kind of offense to the Vaishnavas, like means you're asking for some suggestion and you're not able to follow it, then there is no point in asking. So basically, like a lot of times, you have a barriers kind of thing or a fence, the way we build a fence around our homes to avoid the intruders to come in, or in IT terms like the firewalls in the network to avoid the data breaches and all that stuff. So, so similarly, our at least my mind has specific uh, defense mechanism or something like what I should hear, like which is not pleasing to my heart or whatever is, so like maybe not hear or like think like, okay, this is what my, based on my limitations, it builds the defense like, okay, I should hear this and I should not hear this. Even in sometimes in a lectures we hear like some sessions spoken in general, but a lot of times it creates a barrier kind of thing, saying, oh, okay, this is not for me, or like maybe the speaker is saying something that, but then it tries to changes it to my own desires, like, or how I want it, or how I could follow this principle, something, or it's not for me, it's for someone else. It creates those things. And other thing, like a lot of times when it comes to the others, I'm a judge, and I become a lawyer when it comes to myself. So when it comes to myself, try to give so many arguments to prove my point, or my actions are correct and I'm not at wrong. But the same options are not given to others and judge that they are wrong. So I make my own opinions uh, without understanding what their point of view. So in that context, like I was just remembering like the story of from Mahabharata, uh, Drupada and Dronacharya. So we all know that like they're in the young age in Gurukula, they both are best friends, and Drupada offered Dronacharya that whenever you are in need, so you can come to me and I'm okay to give you the half kingdom and all the things. But when Dronacharya was really in need and went to Drupada, um, he went to Drupada to just ask um, couple of cows so he could feed his son milk to his child. But as long as Dronacharya went and trying to make Drupada remember who he was and all the things, but by looking at the attire of Dronacharya and all the things, so Drupada started using harsh words and started insulting Dronacharya, saying that I'm not your friend. Look at you and look at me. How can I be of your friend and all the things? And with all those harsh words, Dronacharya took a strong vow that he would bring Drupada to his knees. And after that, like Dronacharya sent Arjuna to do that. So Arjuna brings Drupada to his knees. But then it did not end all the way there. So, and after all the thing happens, then Dronacharya says, like, since anyway you do not have any son, so consider my son as your son and let's be friends. But then seemed like they accepted that deal, but Drupada went back and again he performed the sacrifice to beget a son who can kill Dronacharya. Anyway, finally the story ended up fighting each other, though they both are best friends and they vowed to help each other when they were in Gurukula, but finally they ended up fighting. So thing, and similarly, like a lot of times, like when I'm not in the open-minded, so it's hard to accept some things when someone says, or when someone says or suggests or guide us, or like the things. So in that, like I was just remembering this example of a child. When a child was born, at least the only quality which was exhibited out by the child is only the crying. For some time, like for everything, like he cannot speak or say a word, but only thing crying. And the parents have to understand, oh, okay, this is the time maybe he's feeling hungry, or maybe he is uncomfortable, or he's feeling sleepy, and all things. They just have to understand only just by listening his crying. But as the child keep growing, right? So he has an open mind and there is no other thoughts like, oh, okay, maybe he's saying something, he's saying like this, maybe he meant this, all those things without that. So they're open minded, so they're just observing and they're going to the teachers and learn. And finally, as they grow, they brings out their best. But as they grow, also they develop this barriers or defenses, what they wanted to listen, what they don't want to listen, and finally, I do what I like. So similarly, when a student is submissive, the teacher is ready to impart more knowledge, whereas the teacher pays less attention to a student when a student is challenging to prove teacher is wrong or less knowledgeable or something. This is not that teacher is ignoring the student. Uh, Teacher wanted to impart the knowledge to everyone, but this is just to save the time of the other students by having the unnecessary discussions. Right. So, so in that same context, like I heard this example like multiple times recently. So in the forest, like once there was a argument between the donkey and tiger. So donkey was saying uh, the grass is blue. So tiger was saying arguing, and after a couple of times, like then tiger says, "Forget it." Tiger leaves, but next day again the donkey comes to the tiger and says the same thing. And finally, frustrated tiger, okay, let's go to the king lion and then let's clarify the thing. So then they go there, and then donkey tells to the lion that this tiger is so much frustrating. It's not accepting that grass is blue, and I mean, please clarify so that this issue can be resolved. And so then finally, lion says, "Oh yeah, it's true," and then lion gives a punishment to tiger to stay away from everyone, calm for some time. And after the punishment is done, so the tiger comes to the lion and asks, "Why did you say that the grass is blue, but grass is green?" So then the tiger says, um, "So I then says, I agree with you." Then tiger asks, like, "Then why did you punish me?" So then she says, like, "I punish you not for because you did not accept the grass is blue. I punish you because you kind of wasted your time discussing with the donkey on an unnecessary topic. There is no need." So in that context, like I feel like I need to be really rational to when to speak and when not to speak. So especially when it comes to prove my integrity or anything, so then that's the time like we need to really speak. But otherwise, I don't have to, like, means in a case like I would like to perform a specific service and somehow it's not been granted or allocated to me, but I don't have to really go and argue or fight to get those specific services or something. So yeah. So next. So also like when I do not have that defending mindset, so it would be pleasing to the other devotees, and they would be more willing and open to come and give me suggestions for my betterment or for my progress in Krishna consciousness and to overcome my shortcomings. And so with that, like Vaishnavas would pleased, and that would bring that will please Krishna too. So and it's almost come to an end, so just 5 minutes. So it's a thing for me from that mother's lecture to take away, like means somehow or the other, I have accepted this process of Krishna consciousness, and because of whatever limited knowledge which I gained through the years, I do not think I would be going away from Krishna consciousness. Only thing, the next choice what I have is to make is that I want to be a happy devotee or a miserable devotee. So in order to be a happy devotee, so like when I could follow the below principles, I could be happy. Also bring happiness in others around me. So one is hear without defending, speak without offending, live without pretending, and love without expecting. And yeah, just to conclude, it was just a reflection of my shortcomings after hearing that lecture, what I need to work on. And I beg for your forgiveness if I spoke anything incorrectly or misrepresented anyone or anything inappropriate. If I misrepresent anything, it's all because of my limited knowledge or my limited understanding. Hope someday I would overcome by all your association, prayers, and guidance. I could develop these qualities which would please Krishna. And final message, we are all eagerly waiting for this moment, and as a community, we are starting the new chapter for our community with the new temple inauguration with Lordship Sri Sri Radha Shamsundar on the altar all the time. May Lord Radha Shamsundar inspire us all to live by example, so more and more visitors to our temple could take up the process of Krishna consciousness and to become more happy devotees. With that, I'll conclude. Thank you. Please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept mine too. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhuji, thank you, Prabhuji. Very sweet talk in the morning. I was amazed when you picked up the topic. The same verse has so many other things that could be touched on, but you chose to pick up the one which was about Vaishnava relationships and other things. I really liked the way you emphasized, the details. I like the story that you told about the tiger and the donkey, and finally how it should be applied in our own life, which I think is such a big lesson, Prabhuji. A lot of times we know the story, but we don't know how to apply it, and that is where talking to other devotees and getting, this knowledge from other devotees is the mercy. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thanks a lot for sharing your relational understanding.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept.
I like so many thoughts you had, Prabhu. Very nice realizations. I just thought of adding one. In the relationship, we also judge. I recently heard from Amogalila Prabhu. He was in a train with one of the, he was in the train basically traveling somewhere. And there is one person chanting, and he was chanting in the left hand, and then they spoke somehow, and then finally Amogalila Prabhu asked him, how long are you chanting? Almost a couple years now. Then Amogalila Prabhu said, I think you're almost a year plus in ISKCON and also chanting. And you should chant in right hand, right? Yes, Prabhuji. I always, you're absolutely right. I sometimes I keep forgetting. Thank you for reminding, and no, I will do it, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. And then just finally, they dozed off, basically in a travel, right? So both slept.
Yeah.
And then the person he was opposite to him in the train, and because of the wind, the upper cloth, basically he had a shawl. Somehow the shawl slipped down, and then he saw there was no right hand for him. Okay.
Yes.
Then there's no right hand. Then Amoglila Prabhu felt so bad. Oh my God, what did I say, really? And then that means it happened actually 2 times, it seems. Okay. First time he said and he forgot. The next time when he traveled, he found the same person. And the second time this happened. And then, not the second time, he came to know this is what happened. When second time also, he repeated, hey, Prabhu, still chanting in left hand. Yeah, Prabhu, I totally understand that, I should, no, something like that. So that means he was so humble. He did not say that I don't have a right hand.
Yes.
Right. But because he was very humble, the devotee was him, and then doesn't want to show off. Yeah, even in spite of that right hand is not there. He's chanting in left hand and he has so much devotion for Krishna. He doesn't want to show off that one.
Yes.
So that means, see what happens. Even one person doesn't talk. Okay, you can do whatever you want. That's okay. I will just I'll see. What I mean to say is, we always judge. And even though person knows what he wants to and how to do it, he will just remain silent and he will leave it to others. So it's okay. Prabhu, you do it. That's okay. But that doesn't mean the person doesn't know anything. You know what I mean?
Yes, Prabhu.
So that I thought of bringing that point. Because whether it is Sunya, amongst devotees, this always happens. Even within the peers, within our own thing. Oh, he's not doing, he doesn't know. Maybe he doesn't know. That's okay. And then they will try to guide. Somebody will try to, even I try to guide someone, right? But we should know the realities and their humility and how they behave. In that way, we can correct ourselves. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Thanks a lot for sharing that relation for me. It's like a real life example to understand like how we judge others. The thing, yeah. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories.
Please accept my regards to all Shri Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. I totally echo with Radha Kunj Bihari Prabhu and Balaram Prasad Prabhu. Very, very practical. And the way you have brought out is really amazing. I mean, a lot of things. I felt like you're just speaking to me. The urge to speak.
I was thinking to myself, I'm not qualified to speak to someone else, but yeah.
Yeah, it's very directly speaking, and it's also amazing how Prabhu brought up this judging mentality. It becomes so easy, and Prabhu is telling it happens even in devotee circles. I'm actually thinking, for me, it's happening only in devotee circles. If I'm seeing outside people, I have some kind of compassion. Oh, poor people, they don't know Krishna yet, they're not connected to them yet. In that sense, wanting to extend and wanting to make them feel happy and, loved, cared for. But it's very interesting. As you were speaking, I was thinking about it. And for devotees, that's not the case. Hey, come on, they're supposed to know this already. They're supposed to be better than this. Why are they like this? Why are they like this? And then when it comes to me, oh, poor me, I'm struggling so much. I'm at least doing this much. So everyone should be, kind of be kind to me. Oh my, so you have really, kind of brought the light to all that subtle things in the heart, whatever happening. Very, very beautiful. And the other point you said, your relative thinking the phone got cut. I mean, I used to see this like so much with everyone in my relatives. They will talk in front of them nicely. As soon as they leave the home, they will start talking all kinds of things. So, I mean, how detrimental our thought process and how, it can really touch their core of the hearts. So thank you so much, Prabhu, for
Thank you, Mata.
this and
But whatever I spoke, it's all Nitya Sevani Mata's relations, Mata. It's not mine, but I was just trying to reflect after hearing that lecture. So I thought like sharing so I can rememorize those things, whatever I heard. So thank you, Mata.
But thank you for choosing to be that instrument to pass on that. Krishna, to inspire you to hear that. And I'm sure when we hear something is touching and wanting to share, so that really shows, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Okay, Lakshmi Kantroji, it's I think 8:12. So do you want to end the call?
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you very much. One chakra, yes, chakra, person, the Patitana,